First one in, first one out.
I understand it because, like, I mean, if everything is rolling downhill, I want to make sure, my basket is towards the top. I get it.
I want to be on the top of the pyramid.
I get it, but yeah, it is crazy how that went away.
Yeah. All you need is 12 other people in your flower bloom, whatever it is.
A flower bomb.
Man, that was over fast. That was like a few months.
Once the money comes, that's what I be saying, bro. Nobody care about people. Everybody's like, oh, we can help each other. This is for us. And as soon as they got paid, it was like, all right, y'all, I'm going to Tulum.
I'm helping myself.
I'm going to Tulum, y'all.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
It's vacation time. Thirst trap pictures coming soon.
Man, everybody and their mama been to Tulum, man. I don't even want to go. I'd be like, why go? I can just go on Facebook and have the same experience.
You're a person that doesn't understand traveling. Like, I'll catch the pictures online.
That's what it's for. Like, you go to the beach. You go to the beach and you go to like a tiki club, right? Like, right. So if I can see that on Facebook or Insta, like, why do I need to go when 500 people I follow went to the same club in the same beach?
Mm-hmm. Well, I can see not want to go to just beach locations all the time, because like you seen one blue beach, you seen them all.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't understand that, but in that case, you're not seeing it all. You're like, I can see that online. Like, I'm not gonna go.
If we can get places without flying, I'd be everywhere. I promise. I promise.
By train, car,
submarine, something like.
Man, if I can't take my automobile there, I'm not going.
I really don't even mind flying. It's just the whole process of flying is like mad annoying. Like, that shit get on my nerves. Yeah. And then you just end up playing for, like.
He's explaining flying. Man. Like, you like this metal cylinder with wings,
and people you don't know, weird. Man. Everybody just breathing and
the circulated air.
I can't play my PlayStation on. You know what I'm saying? Like, that would help if I could bring my PlayStation on a plane. Yeah, bro.
You probably could though.
I don't know.
Like, bring like a mini TV.
Well, you might be able to hook it up to the seat if they have like HDMI and all that.
That'd be ridiculous.
I'm just saying. I mean, I'm gonna be here for like 16 hours. What I'm supposed to do?
I feel like somebody done that before.
How many movies you gonna watch?
Yeah, and get a Nintendo Switch.
You might be onto something.
Yeah. I want one. I don't think I would play it though. You can just chill, just burn some time. I don't play like games on my phone. Games on your phone is kind of whack though.
It's childish. You're childish. I feel like a child. Yeah. When you was young, you remember we was in school, it was like, yo, what games you have? It's like, oh, I got Snake. Yeah. And then like as like the phones got better, like the games got better. But now Snake. I feel like the games are like way too advanced on mobile. And so it's like, if you're not putting, I'm not gonna sit here and put time into like Thumb Soldiers 2 or something. You know what I mean? Like,
your phone be all hot. Yeah. You start playing, your phone dead. You got to still make calls. You're like, man, I feel dumb.
Yeah, man. I think we can start the episode. Welcome back.
Yeah.
Welcome back. That was the pre-log, but welcome back to another episode of Rich by Monday.
Yes.
Episode 19. I'm your host, Jared Wilkins, the Google grad.
I'm Dorrance Creighton.
And welcome back. It's
episode 19.
It's been, we had a break, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now we back. But
back to regular scheduled programming.
Like I was saying though, I talked to my uncle, right? I have an uncle who's who's a he works for the oil company. I don't know his exact position. I believe he's an engineer, but he works for the oil company, and he's lived on like several different continents. And he was talking about how much he hated flying. Like, but this is back in like the 90s, probably even into the 80s, but like 90s and stuff.
Right.
And he was like, man, sitting on this plane, because he lived in Angola in South Africa. And he was like just sitting on the plane for like 17 hours in a regular seat.
Yeah, it's a lot.
He said they would come around and bring you like VHS tapes.
What?
Yeah, to put in to watch. And he
I was like, oh, what do you want to see? You're like, you need to grab something.
And it's like, there's only so many movies you can watch.
Right. Like, so many they can only just take on the plane.
Yeah.
Like, we got room for 20. You're going to see Home Alone multiple times.
He hated that. He was telling me how much he hated that when I was in Louisiana. And he talked about how like how they would go get when he first got there. Because of course the biggest thing is like, what am I gonna eat? So he said you can go down to the like water.
On the plane?
No, like when he got to Africa.
Oh, okay.
Right? So you get down there, and he found out where he was gonna live and all that, like whatever place he was living in. You go down to the water, basically like the beach, and that's where the market is. And so you pay the guys for whatever you want, and then they go in the water and go get it.
Fresh.
Yeah. So he was like, I didn't really, you see stuff, and he's like, it's not that, it's not that I was trying to like judge the way they eat. It just coming from, of course, where you come from, and then going down there, and it's like it just didn't look appetizing. So he's like,
what was they pulling out of the
all
water?
Kinds of fish, random, just whatever,
just different
right?
Species.
Yeah, but it'd be like the whole fish, and then they'd leave it there, so like it'll be sitting there, right? So some of them they have to actually go back and get, but then there's others that they they'll have like on a table that's been sitting there for like since yesterday or something. I don't know. So he said the only thing he bought was lobsters. So he said he went down there, he got a big old trunk and filled it with lobsters and bought as much as he could. And then when he took it home, he cleaned them and cut them up and freezed them. And that's all he ate.
Lobster?
Yeah, he's like, I ate everything. Like on some Bubba Gump shrimp. He's like barbecue lobster. Lobster sandwich.
That sounds like gumbo. Sound like gumbo to me.
Man, lobster and rice, lobster and bread. He was eating everything with lobster.
I actually prefer crab over lobster, or shrimp. Lobster is just not all that to me. I'm like, I eat it, but crab is like, I think it's top for me. It's like crab, shrimp, then lobster. What else is there? And then at the bottom, got to be what's the name? What's the crawfish? It's just too much to get so little.
Oh, if you eating the whole, I don't do that. I mean, I guess it's a whole experience. It's a whole experience.
It's like cracking them and stuff, I guess.
Yeah, I prefer just to like buy the tails, like the tail meat, and then just make something. That way. I get that. I mean, but we used to do a crawfish boil every year, and then COVID,
right,
kind of ruined that.
Talking about COVID, I wanted to touch on the Delta variant. Uptick in the Delta variant going on now. And I ordered some more masks. I'm like, okay, here we go again. We back on this. And I don't know how you feeling about it. Now, you think we might go back into a lockdown, or how you think we might handle this next round of COVID? This actually affecting younger people now, like in their mid-20s and 30s. I'm hearing at least most of the people are in the hospital, like 90% non-vaccinated people. And I just seen a documentary, and it was about people who are in hospital with COVID, and the doctor would ask them, so do you think you would get the the vaccine now? And they're like, well, I don't know. I'm still not convinced. And they're like, what would convince you? And they're like, well, I like to hear, I've heard a lot of bad things about the vaccine. I like to do my research on the good things. And the doctor's just like, I've never thought I would be in a situation where we have a vaccine readily available and people would refuse to take it. So where do you think we're going from here?
I don't know. To be honest, I mean, I think I remember earlier in the year, I was not even this year, probably late last year. I was, initially I was thinking like once this whole thing happened, I was kind of thinking like, well, you know, our economy is heading in a certain direction anyway. This kind of just delays the inevitable,
Mm-hmm.
right? But then the more and more other things started to happen, I felt like it created like a new branch.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? To like, I don't think we're ever gonna go back to like that same lane that we were in, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's created just a whole new thing, honestly. And with the variant, which is likely, it was because this whole thing, from my understanding, I don't know, of course, because I'm not a scientist
Mm-hmm.
and I don't work in that field, but the whole thing started because they were doing something. Scientists in China who were funded by America were doing something that they weren't supposed to do, and that's trying to strengthen a virus. And I forgot what they call it. There's a word for it. Um, I'm gonna look it up real quick while we talk. But there's a word for it that describes like how they test the strength of a virus to make it withstand so much stuff.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I guess the virus got out during that process. So it's
Mm-hmm.
inevitable that once the virus is free to do whatever it does,
Mm-hmm.
eventually it'll mutate to
Yeah.
whatever. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it was kind of like inevitable. It was something that was going to happen,
Mm-hmm.
especially since you can't get everyone vaccinated at the same time.
Right.
Um, so I don't know, man. I really don't know because I feel like sure there's a lot of misinformation out there on both sides about
Mm-hmm.
what's going on, and I think that's what creates this whole mess. There's no transparency, right? And then given the history of our country, I think that's the reason why people don't trust certain things.
Right.
You know what I mean? I feel like if certain things didn't happen, then there wouldn't be an issue. They wouldn't have a reason not to trust you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so all I feel like all we can do, man, is do whatever we need to do to feel safe.
Yep. Pretty much.
You know what I'm
You're in
saying?
your own individual, um, decisions. I guess you got to make, and I think at this point, people who are going to get vaccinated have already done it. I don't think any type of um, convincing is going to push the scale too much. And maybe that's just me being, a pessimist. But I
Mm-hmm.
just don't. I don't see because we are. I think this is like one of the first times in history where everyone's getting different information from different sources, and the algorithm will just show you that same thing over and over. It's like an echo chamber. Like whatever you believe, the the system just keep pushing those certain things and narratives to you over and over and over. So I think it's hard to get a full perspective of the information that's coming in, and that just leaves people in these boxes where it's hard to believe anything that's outside that. So with that
Mm-hmm.
being said, I don't know. I don't see the person who's for sure anti-vaxxer, anti-masker is all of a sudden going to wake up even after having COVID or being in the hospital or seeing people die, um, are just going to turn around and now be vaccinated and mask.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't see that happening. There are people actually inside the hospital, and doctors are telling them you have COVID, and they're like, "No, I don't. You're lying." I mean, what do you say to that? if you're in the hospital and they say they diagnose you with COVID and you say, no, I don't. It's like, I mean, we're living in two different realities,
Not for real.
you know?
For real. And it's there's enough support. Like the internet creates like a vacuum
Yeah.
to where like you have enough support to where anyone is right. Like everyone is right.
Mm-hmm.
No one is wrong.
Yep.
Because the medical professionals can come forth and say something, and then there's a million other like rebuttals to it
Mm-hmm.
in 15-second forms that you can't even verify. You can't, like, I saw something the other day, and I don't care what people believe. I don't care how you feel about it. Like that's up to you, right? But the thing that gets me is when people are dumb. Like, don't arrive at a point in a dumb way and then
Mm-hmm.
like now like just completely like invalidates you. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I was reading an article on Facebook, and it was talking about this young lady who died, and like from the supposedly from the vaccine, right? Saying
Mm-hmm.
that it was a whole article written by some blog or something, and she got blood clots or something from the vaccine, and she died, and they told him the timeline and blah blah blah. And so
Mm-hmm.
then immediately the comments are filled with like, this is why you shouldn't get it and all this other stuff, right?
Right.
Everybody's willing to tell you what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then one person decided to actually look into what happened,
Mm-hmm.
and come to find out that this woman was already having issues with blood clots,
Oh,
right? And she was going to the hospital at the time to deal with blood clots.
right.
She caught COVID in between that time, right?
Mm,
And they weren't able to. I think she had blood clots like in her brain or something.
right.
So they weren't able to save her because of that. She got the
Uh,
vaccine, but she was already dealing with issues related to
yeah.
blood clotting in the hospital. So she didn't even die from COVID.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But this blog or whoever decided to, of course, omit that fact to prove a point. And it's stuff like that. That's like, man, like, are we that dumb? I'm really
Mm-hmm.
starting to get to a point where, like, because I'm paying attention more on the internet to more things now because we have to.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to believe like a lot of people are really dumb. And I hate to say
Mm-hmm.
that, but a lot of people are really like, they don't know how to think. like,
Like
like, you know
breaking
what I
news
mean?
here, people done.
Yeah, like it's like, does it not matter where the information came from, or not even
Yeah.
in regards to like just vaccines or nothing, just in life, like a
Everything. Yeah.
random video or
Just like
random
you said,
article
how
comes
you
out.
arrive to that conclusion is the part that's dumb. Not that you're
Exactly.
ignorant of certain topics or things. It's literally your thinking skills, um, uh, to figure out what's right and wrong. Uh, yeah. So I don't know.
It's a lot of that. So I mean, that's why I'm not an expert, so I don't speak on that topic. It's just like
Mm,
I remember a couple episodes ago we were talking about how guys were Kevin Durant came to Twitter to talk to fans, and then guys want to argue with him about like shot percentages and all that. These are guys who don't even play.
mm,
You're arguing with a professional. Like, why? If you're not in that field, you shouldn't be having them conversations. Just be a fan, bro.
yeah. Yeah.
And the same. I feel like the same applies like on this level. I'm not a scientist. I'm not gonna act like I went to school to be a scientist. I have
Yeah.
no firsthand experience in any type of biology,
Right.
like anything to do with the human anatomy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm not here to tell you about electrons and nerve endings. I don't know nothing
Yeah.
about that.
Have you ever tried to read an actual article, um, like a peer-reviewed article, like in some type of science um, magazine? Or, like, man, you feel
No,
dumb.
hell no.
You feel
Cause
dumb.
cause I don't like feeling
I
dumb.
don't know half those. I don't know half these. I don't know maybe like 80% of these words and how they relate to what. It's like you're literally reading another language, and you gonna tell me the person that I sat next to in high school that's cheating off my paper is now an expert on these topics. All of a sudden,
Is
like, come
is that
on,
not the case? Is that not the case for everything that's happening right now? Like you said, people who were like, there's guys who they couldn't even read in class, and now they're
right?
like forex gurus.
Yeah, yeah. You couldn't read out loud, and now all of a sudden, like you know everything about everything.
And
It's
that's not to say
it's
like you
weird.
can't grow, you can't have growth, but there has to be a certain like line or a certain path to get to that point. You can't just show up one day and be that. Like it's going to be
Yeah.
difficult. Well, you can in today's world, but it's going
Well,
to be difficult
it's
to
almost
understand that.
in terms of the virus though. No one knew this was coming. So if you that 0.001% of person who was stating this thing, what do they call it? Epidemiologist or something like that.
Epidemiology.
Yeah, something like that. Or
And we
like
know
study
somebody.
of study of viruses and stuff.
We know somebody who's a I'm gonna keep saying this is gonna sound bad because you messed me up
Right?
because you said it wrong the first
Damn
time.
words up.
Epidemiologist. Epidemiologist.
Hey man, I don't claim to know.
What's it's Amira. I think that's what Amira is. Amira, Dr. Mira. Shout out Amira.
Mhm. Yeah, I just stay in my lane. So I let people who do that,
Yeah.
and I do what I do.
I mean,
And
it is what it is, man. I mean, the virus is here. I don't know if people
I think it's
I don't
epidemiologist.
something like that. I'm a Casamigos ologist.
Okay.
Uh,
You see on the internet, they've been saying the Rocks, Dwayne the Rock Johnson, he has a tequila out, and they said that's been
yeah,
killing.
Terramana.
Yeah,
I mean,
they
people
said
don't
it might be the Migo
listen.
killer.
Listen, no, the Migo killer. No, no, it's not. I've it's definitely not. It's okay, but it's definitely not the same.
Yeah,
Um, first, like I was having this conversation earlier. I hate sounding like this because I feel like it makes me sound like a snob, right?
mm-hmm.
But if you say you drink Casamigos and then I show up to where you do the Casamigos drinking, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and you have the Blanco,
Yeah,
I just lost all respect for
yeah,
any of your opinions.
yeah,
So
that's
you
different.
also have to keep that in mind, right? There's people who hear it as new and it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
They just go get it. So they heard
They get the
Terramana.
wrong thing.
Yeah. They hear Terramana. And so they might drink it thinking it's the rock, it's the new thing. I'll just drink it. They're not really
Right,
drinking it.
sheeple. I
So
don't
it's the
drink
same
this
with
liquor because
Casamigos.
a celebrity told me to.
I went to Quan's birthday party the weekend or last weekend.
Yeah. Shout out Quan,
And
happy birthday.
shout out Quan, happy birthday. Shout out Lavelle, happy birthday. Um and I left a bottle. This bottle right here, actually, I bought for the party, and I left it in the car. So, and because I had got dropped off,
Mm.
I left it in the car. So I tried to buy another one on the way, and it was sold out everywhere.
Mm.
So, which I was kind of upset about because I was like, man, that was cool. I can't even drink it no more. Like,
Yeah, I did not think that was gonna happen. Like, cause uh, you're drinking that pretty early, and
yeah,
then I got on it, and then all of a sudden it was like the new Hennessy. And
mm-hmm.
it's like we not on Hennessy no more. We drinking Casamigos. Just so
Casamigos.
crazy because that's a huge turn from drinking a cognac to drinking tequila.
Well,
It's
it
like
came from, you know what it
completely
came
different
from, right?
things.
It came from Clase Azul.
Who's that?
Clase Azul, like that tequila. It's in a big white, like ceramic
Right.
bottle with a bell on the
Okay.
top.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen that.
So let me give you some history because you might not
Mm-hmm.
remember.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even go to this party, but Davita had a party at her uncle's house, like a pool party.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a Ciroc party or something. And they
Mm-hmm.
had Clase Azul there. This is like, no lie, probably like 10 years ago.
Right.
Um, Back then, it was a cheap tequila. And the owner even came out and called it trash tequila. You can find an article, right? But for whatever reason, at some point within the last like 8 months, it became really popular.
Yeah.
So it's still trash tequila.
I think it's based on the bottle. People see pretty bottles and they just want to drink from them.
It's been that way though.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Right.
that bottle's been that way
Interesting
for,
bottles. Yeah.
yeah, it's been that way for years. And then
Mm-hmm.
for whatever reason, if I feel like if the owner comes out, the person who makes it comes out and says, "Hey, this is trash," and then
Right.
like, and then people go out and they're willing to
Mm-hmm.
pay the premium for it. Like it's just that's strange to me.
It's just part of what it looks like. It just that's just part of our culture. It's what it looks like. The aesthetics. The
Mm-hmm.
aesthetics is at the forefront of culture right now. It's all about aesthetics. It's not about what it really is. So no one's like taste testing these things and giving them certain points and you know talking about the smoothness or all the different taste points in it. It's just like it looks good.
Yeah, I
Like
mean, I get
it
that.
looks good.
I get that. I mean, and
And
I wasn't really on tequila until Vita's stepmom put me on because she
mm-hmm,
drinks tequila
right,
a lot. So she kind of put me on. She gave me the education in terms of what to drink, how to drink it, which ones are for sipping, which one are for mixed drinks, vice versa.
right. Mm-hmm,
Um, and then that kind of changed what I drink. So yeah, you're right. That is a big switch coming from like Hennessy, Remy, and all that kind of stuff
yeah.
going to tequila, and then now they're actually picking a good tequila, right?
Mm-hmm,
Which is great because it deserves the attention.
mm-hmm,
But well, in LA I could still find some, but when I was back home, like it was hard. Everybody was sold out.
mm.
So
Yeah, it's at a Costco.
yeah, they were sold out. So think
That's,
about that. Costco was sold out.
that's crazy. That's the warehouse. It's a warehouse. The whole warehouse don't have any. Okay.
Yeah, so I mean,
Yeah.
is what it is, man. I don't know. I think everybody's kind of tuning into the same thing at the same time because the COVID thing caused us to kind of sit down at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's kind of just creating these different phenomena, like you know, over and over again.
Yeah. And the internet really sways opinion and sways what you really do. It's kind of like it's just marketing. It's just marketing. It's like a commercial runs over and over and over. And but if it's from someone you like and trust or follow, that connection's even stronger to that product, whatever it is. It's different from a corporation saying, "Hey, buy this. This is good," as opposed to somebody you're following or a friend or family member tells you, "Hey, yeah, this is what we're on." It's different. It's very personal marketing. That's
Yeah.
where you want to be. Marketing doesn't seem like marketing.
I mean, you never know, man. Maybe when things slow down and unemployment runs out,
Mm-hmm.
as a certain class of people like to say, when unemployment runs out and all that kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff, maybe this thing will change. I don't know, but and then the Fed just came out and said they're going to be tapering, you know, their spending, so which could
Mm-hmm.
mean higher interest rates.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that'll
I
change a
don't,
lot.
yeah, I don't foresee that changing anytime soon.
They say they're doing it this year.
Not when the pandemic is still going.
Now they came out. Well, Jerome Powell came out and said they're going to be
Yeah.
begin to taper this year.
Mm-hmm.
So the plan
Yeah.
was
They
three
change their
years
mind all the time.
exactly. So the plan was 3 years, and then they said I think Wednesday because they had a meeting Wednesday that they're going
Mm-hmm.
to begin tapering this year. Now, so for those who don't understand what that means or just aren't familiar with it, basically our government is buying bonds, right? And by them doing that, it it keeps the yields low, like the return on the bond, making rates meaning that the yields are low, so the rates are cheaper. It's easier to borrow money, and it's more readily available, right? So if they reduce their spending on what they buy, that means that yields will go up, making it more expensive to borrow money, if that makes sense, right? So because basically to borrow money, you're paying a premium on top of the yield. So if there's If the yield is like a 1 point, or the return is like a 1.5%, which is like what it is now, that kind of shows you why you can pay 2.5 to 3.5% for a loan, right? But if the yield goes up to 3, 4, or 5%, then your rates will be looking a lot higher because you're paying a premium on top of that. Um, so enough of that nerd talk. But they said that they were beginning it, and I think they kind of already started, honestly. So there's been a lot of that kind of showing up um, in the stock market. A lot of that fear, and then all the stuff going on in China, like his beat all the Chinese stocks like to the dirt, like Debo punched him, and
Yeah, I didn't see that.
yeah, it's been, well, China's being China, you know what I mean? That's what they do.
Manipulating the market.
In a way, but you know, their government runs everything, so it's like there's no room for a certain level of like growth and innovation if it's not in line with like the state's objective. Right, so it's like they'll let you do enough, and then when it gets a little bit too much, they're like, hold on, we need to talk.
Yeah.
I got to make sure this is what we need.
Let's roll this
And
back.
yeah, so I mean, all the Chinese stocks they've gotten beat up, and so I've been buying them. You know, or mainly Alibaba. Alibaba pretty much got cut in half.
Yeah, that's crazy. I know they're
Right.
running it.
So yeah, it's pretty much been cut in half. So I've been buying some. I mean, the ultimate fear is that they'll be delisted. Like you won't even be able to trade them.
They just
But
take them off.
Yeah,
That'd be
I don't
crazy.
think that'll be the case. And the only reason why I'm buying Alibaba is because it's Alibaba. Like it's a real company. People use it. The numbers could be fake, but I do know they have some real numbers.
Yeah, they're good for doing that.
Yeah, there's other companies where
Not
it's like
being transparent at all.
there's other companies that the numbers could be 100% fake, and so I'm staying away with from those. But if I had to make a bet, I would bet on Alibaba. So that's what I did.
Yeah, I remember their CEO was kind of like the Chinese Elon Musk. Forget his name.
Jack Ma.
Yeah, Ma. Jack Ma.
Yeah. Speaking of Elon, did you see that they're making a robot?
I mean, for what? Like to do what?
Well, the first question you asked is the right question. For what? But secondly, I don't know because he can. But this is why when we talked about that the other day, the other episode,
This
when
is
it was
a
like,
full scale human robot.
yes,
Or a tabletop robot.
no, it's a bot. It's a full human bot.
5'8"
5'8", 45, like 100 and some pounds or something. I don't know. Can carry up to 45 pounds upright.
Man, he always on something.
So, but my thing is, because you know the response of people who support him are like that. You know, their response is Tesla's more than a car company. If you
They're
can't
just
see that yet,
fanboys. They super fanboys of Elon Musk. It's whatever you do. His tweets are ridiculous.
Listen,
Everyone's following his every move.
If I gave
That's
him
crazy.
$250,000 for a Tesla Roadster 3 years ago, and I don't have my car, but you debuted a robot, I'm coming to see you.
Where money at? Where money?
You mean to tell me I can't have my car, but you can build a robot?
Yeah. For what?
I don't know, man. I'm telling you, it's like him and I hate calling people names because I feel like that makes you're trying to say
a
like
name caller.
Well, you're trying to say you're better than them in a way. Like, and I don't have the results they have in life. So I can't say that I'm better than them or project myself in that way. But they do a lot of dumb shit. Like him, Kathy Wood is another one that everybody loves.
Mm-hmm.
and they just follow everything she does, and I'm like, again, I'm getting to that point. Like, are people really this dumb?
Well, everyone has to have a person that they follow and believe in, or attain to be. And I think that's just what it is. They attain to be these people, and they follow them all the way to the end. And I think that's the benefit of having a following. And I think in the future, everyone will benefit from having a following, no matter what it is or what you're doing. And then ultimately, your following will fight other followings, like in a Pokemon battle.
So should we buy followers?
No, they have to be real loyal followers, like the ones like the episode don't come out next week and they call you up and cuss you out. Like, yo, like, what are you
Yeah,
doing?
it's
Get to
just
work.
strange, man. It's strange, like how even to say, like I'm not gonna play stupid. I understand what people mean when they say it's not a car company, and I know we talk about Tesla not a lot. I'm not trying to shit on them. It's just when you look at the way they make money and the way they spend money, it's on cars.
Mm-hmm.
How can they not be a car company?
Yeah, I think it's an overall lifestyle brand for people. Like, you don't just buy into Tesla or just a car. You buy into like the culture and everything that comes with it, like the technique, like the tech, like the techniest or the tech, like the tech.
What? I don't know. I don't know what you're trying to say.
Some people are just like real techie, and like
Yeah.
they'll buy into that and the culture behind that, and it's not so much like, I think you're looking too much at real numbers and
Well, because
profitability and
you're investing.
yeah. No, you're investing.
Okay. See, now
They're
you're
not
alienating me.
investing.
You're
Yeah,
alienating me, and you're making investing feel lonely. It feels like a lonely space already. You're
it
making it
is.
feel like you're like, I'm trying to understand
You
if
don't want to have fun. You're not having fun.
no, I do want to have fun.
Everyone,
I want to have fun the right way. Can we have fun like and
you're like, yo,
not throw our lives away?
you're like,
Like,
y'all not having the fun I'm having. I don't see how this is fun. And like, no, it's fun. Like, you don't understand. You don't understand my fun. You're like, no, you understand my fun. I don't think this is fun. Like, everybody else having a great time, just believing in their ultimate leader.
I wish I could do that. I really do. Like if I could trade places, I would, because those people live great. Like they don't care about certain shit. They just live. Like
Yeah,
my dad, my
they'd be
dad. I say that
happy.
all the time, bro. My dad is like that, and I don't know how. I wish I had what he had. Like,
Mm-hmm.
cause he can go to bed. He can come home after work, eat. You know what I'm saying? Basically, sit in front of the TV. Um, Now he's worked more than one job at it, of course, but he can come and sit in front of the TV and pretend to watch it, basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then go to bed at like 9:30, 10 o'clock, and be up the next day at 4 a.m. to do it all over again.
Yeah.
Every single, and like I don't have that.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish I did.
Yep. That's how my
I
dad
wish I
is.
did. Like
The
to just
same way.
think, you know what I'm saying? To think like this is it.
Yeah. Stop digging for more.
Yeah.
Trying to squeeze every drop of life out of everything. I ain't
Yeah.
going to sleep. I got I'm gonna squeeze a little more life out of this day.
You know what I'm saying?
It's like, yo,
I'm
it
trying
ain't
to,
nothing left. It ain't nothing left. Go to
I'm
sleep.
I'm up at the 23rd hour trying to figure out how to saute scallops or something
Yeah.
because I want to be a chef low key. Like you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. I
Right.
wish I could just block all that out and just be like,
Yeah.
you know, because that's just what it is. Um but yeah, I don't know, man. Tesla's a weird. The more and more I get familiar with it, because I've only really been like seriously investing like 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
if that. Like to where it's like serious, like where I'm
Right.
really, really deep diving in all this stuff. And so it's like I understand how to do it properly just because of experience, the experiences that we have in
Mm-hmm.
life. But the more and more you like you dig into it, it's like, yo, this is really just all based on feeling and emotion, and
Mm-hmm.
that's why everybody loses.
Yeah, and you can't account for that.
Exactly.
You
But
can't. You can't account for it at
that's why
all.
it's so easy to sell. That's why it's so easy
Mm-hmm.
to sell, because there's no metric. There's no
Mm-hmm.
metric there for that. You know what I mean? So anyone can sell you that because there's no metric for it. They can sell you the feeling and the, I'm like, just go online and go to YouTube and type in your favorite stock and see how many videos come up.
Mm-hmm.
And then, saying it'll go to the moon. And then a month later, like when it falls apart, there's no accountability.
Well, you have to realize, folks have to realize that people aren't buying the product or the stock; they're buying the story. It's about the
Yeah.
story.
Hmm.
People relate to stories. If you can tell them a good story they can follow and believe in, they'll buy whatever it is. It doesn't matter. The connection comes from the story. It's not going to come from the graphs or you know, all these different things that you might use to evaluate a company. It's going to come from the story. They start with the story first.
Hmm.
Same way to get investors involved in anything. You can sit down and talk about and analyze it to death and show them this, and they're like, oh, okay, like they start tuning out. But if you tell them the story about why they want to be involved in something and how it's going to benefit them, then people can latch on to it. So I think when it comes to certain stuff like that, you have to like focus on the story part of it to connect with people, because they don't connect with facts and figures and data at all. It's like they don't have time for that. Most people just aren't analytical that way.
I mean, should the story be rooted in, and I mean, this is for anything, but shouldn't the story be rooted in like the fundamentals
Well,
to
the
some
best
degree?
stories are the best stories are that's really going to be successful for the long term. But the ones that people might connect to, they can be short term. If it's a real good story, because people are not looking at the back office anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, but they're like, okay, the numbers, yeah, numbers look good. They don't know the numbers. They don't know the numbers to even you know uh, account for them being right or wrong. And no one
And,
will
that,
ever
and that's
say
a
that either.
that's a scary place to be in. Like it's a scary place to be in when you can't account for if you did something correctly. At least for me,
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean? Like it's to do something and then have it work and not know if it's right or wrong
Mm-hmm.
yet, because it could be right now, but it could be wrong tomorrow.
Right. Right.
And vice versa. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's a scary space to be in.
That's why the consultant space profession is so large, because people would rather pay somebody else that's going to take the time to do the research, run the numbers, analyze, and then just tell them what should be done.
Hmm.
They want to be informed, but not, master researchers. So, people, let them be best at what they're going to be best at. And, they pay you
Yeah.
because I think we focus a lot on trying to educate during the process, which you will do, but we're not trying to make people us. They just don't
Yeah.
they
It's
don't
not.
want to be.
It's yeah.
They don't want to be, but they still want to be informed and be knowledgeable through you or through whoever.
Yeah, I was
And
talking to I was talking to I was talking to the homie Noonie
mm-hmm,
at I wonder if I should say his government name. I was talking to Clarence
mm-hmm,
at at Quan's birthday, and what I will say though that I do like now is that now we're all at the age to where when you have these social gatherings with people, unfortunately, I think we came up in a time where a lot of the people in our that are in our age group, many of them have kind of gone on to do like, you know, great things with their life.
Right.
They have families, they're buying property. Um, and so I think we're at a point now where when we go to these types of events and stuff, um, we're able to have certain conversations that we couldn't have 5 to 10 years ago.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I was actually talking to Aaron, the homeboy Aaron at first. Shout out Aaron. And then Nooney came in and we started talking. But it was just interesting how like the whole conversation like 5, 10 years ago would have been different than now. It's like, hey, how do we buy assets together?
Right. Right.
Like Nooney was saying, man, I just started getting into like the stock market.
Mm-hmm.
A buddy of mine told me to just buy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like when COVID happened, he's like, just buy anything. Everything's cheap.
Right.
And so he was like, man, I wish I had knew this because he has all the Jordans, all of them. Like I'm not lying, he has all of them.
Right.
So he was like, not that I wouldn't have them, but I would have liked to know that it's an option to buy like Nike stock and have that.
Right. 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 Right.
You know what I mean? So
So you can diversify.
yeah, like it's like I have the products, but I'm doing this as well. Like he's like, I didn't even know this was an option.
Right. Right.
So I do think it's cool that a lot of that is going on. But I think with that, because sure, the stock market is more accessible and platforms like Robinhood make it very user friendly. But I think the reason why I get so caught up in like the education component is because the market is still like, it's still a dangerous place for the misinformed. Like, sure, you got access, right? We got access. Congratulations. It's great. Blah, blah, blah. But there's still rules. Like this still works. It might be new to you today, but it still works the same it has for, I don't know, over 100 years, probably, whatever.
Right.
So, I think that's where like my need to understand certain things comes from, because it's not new. It's new to you, but the process isn't new.
Right.
And it was so interesting he showed me his portfolio, because that's what people do now, right? It's a thing. They show you their portfolios, they show you their credit scores, the whole nine, right? And he had like 40 stocks. And I was like, bro, this is too much. You know what I mean? Like this is this for someone who just started, why do you own 40 companies? Like,
right.
It's too much. Like even the guys who have like, tens, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of assets and equities don't own that many companies.
So what would you recommend?
Fine. Well, for one, and I agree with Sean. This was Sean's recommendation when I was talking to him. Is just buy the index and go relax. Like, don't even try to figure it out. Just buy the index that tracks the the best companies, and then go sit down.
Yep.
And just keep buying that.
I think that's more my thing. I just, I'm not trying to beat the market. I just, when you do something else, you don't want to put too much time into that. For some people.
Yeah. Well, I think
you gotta
also,
figure out what's right for you.
I think also with that though, you should identify like a couple companies, like at least two, that you know what I'm saying, that you get familiar
just track.
with. Yeah. Because understanding the way business operates on that level will help you. Like a lot of that will trickle down into where you could even do accounting in your own household. You know what I mean? Because it's giving you more sight into how these things function and how they operate.
Right.
So yeah, buy the index. You know what I mean? Like you can just sit back, buy the index for the rest of your life. Every time you get paid, throw some money in there, keep buying the index. You do that for 20, 30 years, you'll be okay. Right. But even if you find a company that you like, you love the story or you love their products and they're a public company, like why not?
Right. Right.
You know, like why not have 3 or 4 companies that you buy into?
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to chase everything, but if you go to Target all the time, why not own Target?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. 'Cause, I mean, you can watch that stock, and which is what I started learning. You can watch that stock and actually trade, just day trade it, or maybe buy an option on it
Mm-hmm.
if you get familiar with how the stock moves, and you can make certain assumptions. Um, but even that for me is not an everyday thing. You know,
No.
sometimes it is for some people, but if you talk about just buying an index and you know, throwing some money at that and maybe trading every now and then for fun.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I don't think it's an income source. I would say to
Mm-hmm.
sit down and really trade as an income source.
No, that's a whole different beast. Like to day
Yeah,
trade and all, like that's a totally.
yeah,
There's very few people who can really say they do that.
yeah. And I don't see it as a come up, because
Yeah.
the pandemic started, everybody was like, it was a come up. Stock market was more sort of come up. Like, how can I flip this into this?
Yeah.
And I don't see things that way.
I mean, if
And
you
I'm
if you
also not
go
a
back,
gambler. I gotta know too much to make one move, and I'm not much of a gambler at all.
if you go back and track the performance of like all the tech companies from the 2000 boom, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think 80% of the returns came from 3 companies:
Mm-hmm.
Apple, Microsoft, and Amazon.
Mm-hmm. Let's say Amazon. Yeah.
Out of the thousands of companies that existed in that time, Apple, Microsoft, Amazon.
Like, how do you pick? You know, at some point, everyone's lucky.
Well, I mean, but that's why you have to like buy
Just the
into.
odds.
You have to buy into what gives a company actual value,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the story is part of it, but I try to look at the financials first, same way I do with real estate, right? If I talk to an owner and they're telling me what they want to do with their building, I back my way into a value for their building to see what they can go and do. Same with
Mm-hmm.
the company, right? The company you hear, but you look at a company. I'll go through the financials. I'll check the boxes I need to know. Is it expensive? Does revenue and net income increase? Do they buy back shares? I stick to that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because those are the things that show you that it has potential to either continue to be stable or you know just be stable at all, right?
Right. Right.
And because I think what happens is it's because it's a game, and when you don't know how to play, and there's so many misinformed because it's the public, is that it's easy for someone in their shoes, meaning the people who are raising the capital from the public, to take advantage of you without you understanding what it is. They'll issue
Mm-hmm.
more shares. You know what I'm saying? They'll go out and get more debt, or they'll do whatever. And for the average person, like with the whole AMC thing, um, AMC was a meme stock, it was a Reddit stock, and it blew up.
Mm.
And so that means the company made a lot of money. They got a lot of public investment. So what do? They go out and issue more shares, right? So that gives
Start
them a
diluting
way to
everyone.
dilutes everybody, and it brings in new money, right? So even what's his name, Richard Bronson.
Mm.
Um, and this kind of proves, I'm not gonna say that's what it is, but it looks that way as far as this whole moon, or not the moon, but the space thing.
Space travel.
Because
Right.
yeah, because directly after that, he sold $300 million worth of shares,
Mm.
which he can do. He has every right to do.
But
But and it was
you're
scheduled.
assuming people start to invest in it after he's in the news about these certain things. Stock rises, and he's like, "Well, I mean, it's the best time to sell off right now.
Exactly.
Let me take mine off top."
It's scheduled. You know, those sales are scheduled. You know, specifically a certain way, but that doesn't mean that he didn't know he was going to do what he did in that time frame.
Right. So it's not like insider trading. That's probably a way to get away with it. You can schedule them up front. Then back his moves to match the schedule.
So if you were someone thinking you're buying into the innovation and not fundamentals, you know, I'm buying into this guy who's making space travel affordable and economical, blah, blah, blah. And then you run his stock up and then he just issues more shares or he sells more shares, dumps $300 million worth of shares on the public. That completely like compresses your value and you know, the value of your equities. And he takes the money and bounces. Right. But it's a game. There's winners and losers and everything. Right. So I know we took a deep dive on like the stock market.
You're talking about fundamentals.
You know,
you're talking about hitting the basketball off the backboard. You outside.
You gotta be Tim Duncan, man.
Late
you gotta
at night.
be Tim Duncan out here, man. Tim Duncan.
Just off the backboard.
Tim Duncan played 20 years off of pivots and backboard bank shots. Like meanwhile, there's guys who could dunk from like the 3-point line now. They last 2 years.
You're like, yeah, okay. I can backboard for 20 years.
20 years, bro.
How long you gonna dunk? How long you gonna dunk? Start slowing down. Yeah, work on your bank shot.
That's what the fundamentals are, man. The fundamentals are the bank shot of investing. It's you know, how much money does the company make? I'm only willing to pay a certain amount, a certain multiple on those earnings. That's it. Then you account for how it can grow in the future. Yes, but it still has to exist today. I can't pay $75 for Intel only for it to be worth 50 20 years later. When revenue has gone up 4 or 5 times in that span. So they've 4x'd the money that they've 4x'd the money that they brought in over 20 years, but the stock price hasn't reached the level that it was at 20 years ago.
Right.
You don't want to overpay for growth. And that's what everybody is doing right now. Growth is expensive in everything, in watches, real estate, the stock market, I don't know, skateboards, whatever people are buying, they're paying future values for things that we don't know what that is. You don't know. You know what I mean? So it's I don't even know how we got here, but we here. So.
Yeah, no one has a crystal ball on what's going to happen. So you basically have to just do what's right for your individual family and finances. You know, make sure you can over afford the things you're taking on. You know, in your household, rather it's houses, cars, you know, responsibilities. Make sure you can over afford it, and you know, not over leverage yourself.
All of that.
So something else in the news, man. 20-year war in Afghanistan ends with the Taliban taking over. I had a lot of friends that went to that war. A lot of people we grew up with. You know, shout out Josh, Ryan, fought in those wars, man. And it seems like it's all for naught. I can't even say what I want to say because it's just not right.
Of course.
But yeah, the Taliban took over. The Taliban took over, and it's I mean it's you know, I've seen one reporter say, she was basically describing the scene there, and she was like, you know, I went to the market today, and it was you know, everything was pretty open. It was probably about half the things open, and the guy that was selling burgers, I mean, he was making a killing. all the women going down there basically buying these coverings because they're figuring, the Taliban's in rule, um, and lifestyle is going to be different, so they're basically preparing for it. And
Mm-hmm.
what I thought was interesting was, um, at that point, there wasn't like an announcement. They didn't get there and say, "Okay, this is how it's going to be now." People kind of all automatically start shifting to these roles based on how they know they get down. Because she was like, it was a weird sight being at the market, and it was like basically no women out, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like they're either at home or somewhere. I was like, man, that's a very terrifying thing. Um, somebody basically just walked. Well, basically they negotiated a truce, so they just basically just walked in.
They won't. Yeah.
You know, so I can't imagine you're in your city and you got barriers, you got the army there, and all of a sudden they just walk in like, all right, this is ours now. Um, but it really speaks to talking about stories. People who really believe a story to like, we're not giving up no matter what when it's your only option. You can't do nothing else, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's going to be crazy how that really rolls out. And they basically just on Biden's top, and it was pretty much going to be anybody, any president.
Mm-hmm.
They finally pulled out. It'll just be absolutely ridiculous. Um, so what do you think in terms of, um, I don't want to glorify the Taliban at all, but
Absolutely not.
yeah, but in terms
Absolutely.
of um, um, like believing in something so much that you would do it forever until it comes true. We
I
talk
mean,
about a lot of that here. Like, okay,
mhm.
well, if it happens in 10, 20, 30 years, all right, I'll still be here to see it through.
From like what well, I don't really like I understand what's happened out there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm not an expert in foreign policy, so I'm not really like I can't speak on it in a way to you know try to prove some kind of point. From my understanding, we were there, of course, during a war, using
Mm-hmm.
resources, building infrastructure, things like that, training them to fight against the Taliban,
Mm-hmm.
and then we just said peace out
Yeah.
in so many words, right? Um, and then to your question, you know, or as you were saying, knowing people who were there and the story they were told, pretty much
Yeah.
on what was going on and how it was relayed back to us here in the states.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it doesn't align, but
Yeah.
you got to think about what's like previous instances where something like this was going on. I mean, you can go back to the 80s. You go back to the 80s, like Iran Contra,
Mm-hmm.
right, where um, the CIA pretty much funded a war to you know to prove a point,
Mm-hmm.
so that they can get money to actually do something else here.
Yeah.
Um,
Selling drugs in predominantly black and brown neighborhoods, so they can make money to fund a war.
mhm.
It's just wild.
And things like that, because I think what often gets I don't want to say overlooked, but what people don't often consider with people who are in certain positions is that these are just people who have jobs. And I think
Mm-hmm.
for me, it's really been hitting home like the last 5 years. But it seems like the older I get, the more and more I realize like these are normal people who just may have to make very important decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So they would do that the same way a guy would do it working at Burger King.
Mm-hmm.
because he's a normal person too.
Right.
So just because this guy is the president, or just because this guy is, Secretary of Defense, or some type of, official at the CIA or whatever, doesn't mean he would do his job necessarily better.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be people who excel in that position, just as there's those who excel in positions in other industries and other jobs.
Right.
But on average, I'm pretty sure if you looked at the numbers, like on average, the rate to like, like top employees to like sorry employees is probably the same, regardless of industry.
So what you doing, right?
Yeah. So I'm not surprised that it happened that way. I mean, I know a lot of people are upset, but it's like, what are we really expecting out of this?
Yeah.
Like, to me, that's the thing. It's like, what were we really like expecting to happen, to where if we did pull out, you would have been okay with it? Because I think that's where the problem starts. You know what I mean? Like the problem starts with expectations. Like, if were you expecting something different? Of course, yes. But why were you expecting that?
Right. It's like they wanted both. They wanted to also pull out of the area and have it stabilized.
Yeah.
And like, if it was that easy, it wouldn't have took 20 years. And
or whatever they were doing for 20 years didn't matter about, or didn't have nothing to do with stabilizing the country.
Right. It just at some point it wasn't profitable. Or
so, and that's something we won't find out. We won't find that out until either the documents are no longer classified, or in 20 years there's another FX series detailing what happened.
Right.
Like Snowfall.
Right. It always comes out later.
Yeah.
It just is, it's crazy. You go half across the world to stabilize a country, and we're unstable here. So I'm all about I don't think America coming to different savior, like being the savior of the world, will ultimately ever work out. It seems like it never does. And ultimately people are like, yo, just leave.
I mean, even that though, I think that's a misconception. I think us being seen as the savior is something that we're probably told, or some type of, or it's projected upon the public. But the reality is, like, we're an empire.
Yeah.
So if we're
you have to
going
sell it that
somewhere,
way. Yeah.
if we're going somewhere, it's not to save them, it's to take over.
Yeah. It's to find some benefit in it. Like, why would you put all your effort, your manpower, person power, and money and assets and into anything if you don't feel like you're gonna get some type of gain from it? Just on a bare bones, like, why am I doing this? You think so you're saying America's doing this just based on the morality of what's right and wrong? That's just not how people operate on any level.
Exactly.
So I'm always just like, And in terms of see, this is something we don't think about a lot when it comes to like dedication to a cause. There's never we don't think about the people who might be dedicated to a cause that might not be morally in line with us and how we move. We never think about people being dedicated to a cause and winning, and quote unquote being the bad people, right? Or what we consider the bad people. Because we're always sold the story of the good always wins, and if being dedicated to your cause, or being ambitious enough to go for whatever you want in life, if that's the same across the board, it's going to work for the quote unquote bad people and the good people. If that's true, which is something we never think about. So
that's true. We back. All right, had to take a quick break. Had to be a father for a minute.
Yep.
But what I was saying is, basically, I saw a video of these two guys who started a business together, and they were great friends, prior to starting the business. They were already
Mm-hmm.
good friends.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I forgot what it was called. I think that the business was called Electronic Commerce, and they were
Mm-hmm.
like a payment processing business.
Okay.
So basically, one guy is like if me and you started a company, and then like one guy was like outside sales, the other guy handled basically all the internal stuff, all the administrative stuff,
Right.
and all correspondence with like the bank and their whoever their processor was for the payments,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because what I learned is in that whole ordeal is that there's like retail payment processing where all the risk is on the side of whoever, like the house you choose,
Mm-hmm.
like Wells Fargo or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So basically they handle all of the risk, so it's expensive when it comes to fees and stuff, but of course it's easier on your
Right.
behalf. And then and so basically they were doing that for a long time. And then the guy who was handling like outside sales, he was flying all over the country, driving everywhere, um, doing what he can to drum up business and get
Mm-hmm.
new clients to use their platform.
Right.
um, Ultimately they got to a point where they could afford to become the house, like handle their own risk.
Mm-hmm.
So the guy who did outside sales, he lived in Florida, and the
Okay.
guy who handled all the other stuff lived in Cali, lived here.
Mm-hmm.
And then so the other guy would fly to California every week basically and kind of check in,
Mm-hmm.
let him know what's going on, blah blah blah. So one week, when he's about to come back, he gets a call from his partner, and his partner is telling him, "Hey, I met this guy, and he's gonna, he can do all these things. He's one of the smartest guys in the world. He's gonna show me how to do it, and he doesn't want anything from me. Like he's volunteering to do it, right?"
Okay.
So he's like, "Well, that sounds strange. Like, is he in college?" And he's like, "No, like he's just volunteering to do it. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're willing to help." So he's like, "All right, whatever." Because again, this is his friend, this is his buddy. They're in the weddings together, the whole nine.
Right.
So so he comes back, and I don't know if he met the guy at that time, but basically, that guy was working for a bank, right? So he
Mm-hmm.
worked at the bank full time, and then volunteered at this company on the side to help
Okay.
them get to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of weeks go by, the guy calls him again and says, "Hey, there's this other guy who works at a rival firm, but he's willing to help us become better or something."
Mm-hmm.
So again, he's on the phone like, you know, okay, like that sounds strange, but whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So weeks go by of this going on with these two guys volunteering. He hadn't been to the office because he's been out trying to drum up business.
Right.
So finally he comes back one day and he sees them in his office, the two new guys,
Mm-hmm.
sitting across from each other. And in his office with all his personal things, the whole nine. So, he knocks on the door and they're like, "Oh, sorry, bro, you want your office back?" And he's like, "Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like, why wouldn't I?"
Right.
So they get up and leave, right? So he thinks that's weird. He goes and talks to his buddy, like, "What's going on?" And he's like, "Oh, no, these guys are here. They're volunteering. They're going to
Mm-hmm.
make us so much better, blah, blah, blah." Doesn't cause any red flags. Um, so fast forward, he goes out, and then I think for a certain amount of time, he had to be home. So he was in the office, not home, but in Cali. So he
Mm-hmm.
had to be in the office for certain days, and he noticed that these guys were always here.
Okay.
So it's like if you have a full-time job somewhere, why are you always here?
Right. Right. Doing
Volunteering.
full-time hours.
Yeah. So when he went home back to Florida, he just got the inkling to check the bank account, like I guess the other one that handles like payments.
Right.
And he noticed that there were like payments to these two guys, one for like 12,000, one for 30,000
Mm-hmm.
in like sequential payments like per month.
Right.
And he's like, "Yo, this is very expensive for volunteers."
Right.
So when he comes back to Cali, he does some digging and he finds like a flow chart that shows like the hierarchy, corporate hierarchy, when he's no longer like a partner. He's
Mm-hmm.
in the middle somewhere. And these two other guys have been elevated to executives. So he brings it back to his buddy, like, yo, what is this about?
Right.
And he's like, oh no, they're just volunteering. This is what we're doing, and this is all they asked for, blah blah blah.
He
So
said the same thing.
over and over. So he starts to keep his eye on him and everything. But to fast forward, basically, he ultimately ends up finding out that they were building a separate company doing the same thing within that office.
Like the same thing they were doing.
Yeah. And so one guy was from the bank that they used to handle like their processing and whatnot. The other guy was from a rival firm. So they came together to start a firm that is a competitor of the firm that he
They were
already
working
was
for.
with.
Right.
Yeah.
They double dipping. It's like we don't get paid and start our own business at the same time.
So while he was out drumming up business, they were rerouting that business to the new company.
Wow.
Right. And so for him, he
On
got
top of that, they're
approached.
scamming.
Yeah. He got approached by his buddy, who's partner, to reduce his interest to 10% from 50 to make, to give equity to the other two guys.
Right.
And he said, if you don't do it, then we'll just completely destroy the value of this company, and it doesn't matter.
Wow.
Right. So that's where I left off in the video. But and we were talking about something along the lines of that prior to the break, so I don't even remember how we got there.
He's like, what's the point?
Yeah, I don't remember, but it was something along the lines of like, something happening for real, like something real happening during the process of you trying to build something else. So and it was just really interesting though how it was his buddy, and so he gave him the ultimate level of trust. But the reality is you shouldn't have done that. And it kind of reminded me of Facebook, the movie.
Right.
Because that was very similar.
With
like
Zuckerberg and what's his name?
Eduardo Saverin.
Yeah. Also, yeah.
And it was very similar to where Eduardo was out trying to drum up business and get advertisers and whatnot.
Yeah.
And Mark was back home, blah, blah, blah. They were in different places. And every time he came home, it was something else.
Yep. Like something new going on.
Something new. And, speaking of that, I saw, this is how you know, like these advertisements and stuff on Instagram is like ridiculous. I saw an ad for a guy teaching like a stock course. And it was a video talking about IPOs, right? And how to know what IPOs to trade and getting in early. And the tagline for like the whole video was, yeah, you have to learn how to get in early, like Peter Thiel and Eduardo Saverin, like they did on Facebook. And I was like, this is how I know you're an idiot, because Eduardo Saverin wasn't an early investor. He was a founder.
Right. So you gotta get into founding early.
Yeah, like what? So but yeah, I can't remember how I don't know how we got there, but I thought that story was pretty interesting though. Like two guys as a partnership, and the other guy just builds a new one. Like
he's out here trying to get more money into the business, more investors, and he's being a snake behind his back. Speaking of new investors, have you seen Onlyfans? They're pulling away from sexually explicit content in an effort to get more investors to invest into the company, because obviously some investors can't invest into adult activities. They have certain parameters of things they can invest in, and I think a lot of people gonna have to really go back to work again.
Go back.
Well, I think ultimately it'll just be another platform. It'll be another platform to do what you do. But it's kind of messed up that the sex workers actually built that whole platform and now they just like turn their backs on them. Like,
But
well,
okay, is it
we're going
though?
to the next level.
Is it though? Because the platform existed before it was used for that,
No, it did,
right? And
but
then so I think it just became a trend amongst those who were
mhm,
doing
they
that.
allowed it. They allowed it
Of course, they
to
allowed it.
thrive.
Yeah,
But this is
like
the thing: if you have a business and your loyal customers, they increase your business revenue. And I don't know, it's people who wear clown hats. All of a sudden, they just like really supporting your business. And
mm-hmm.
then all of a sudden, you're like, you know what? People who wear clown hats can no longer, be a part of our Patreon. But they built it, like all the revenue, all the income from though that people who wear clown hats built your business, built your revenue, and now you're like, yeah, we're gonna cut that off so we can get other revenues from somewhere
I
else.
think I think it would matter if the original like mission for the company was that,
Mm-hmm.
but that wasn't the case. Like it was basically a platform for creators to monetize their own content, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what happened. It just happened to be like sex workers kind of gravitated towards it. So
Right.
ultimately, their goal was accomplished. It's just now they ultimately want to go public,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they're not going to be able to do that if it's porn. so, so
Right.
so I mean, I
Right.
get it. Once you get to, everybody's willing to do something in the gray until you get to a point where you're trying to,
It's
go
like quote unquote
beyond.
go legitimate.
Yeah, like everybody does that.
Yeah.
There's people out here who took out PPP loans and EDD fraud and all that, and they went and
Mm-hmm.
started businesses, and so now it looks okay. You know what I mean? And they can tout themselves as um, respectable professionals.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because now they are, right.
Yeah.
It's the same concept. Like there's a big thing that was happening. Like I don't want to say in the streets. That just sounds funny. But a big thing that was happening, like,
Like the
going
location
around,
of
yeah,
industries.
like,
Where is this located?
a big thing that
Outside.
was happening was like eating, like, so there's certain industries that attract a certain demographic, right? Because usually these people historically weren't able to get employment because of their records, so they go
Right.
into other industries.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if you've noticed, there's been like a pretty significant uptick in activity in these industries, like dog breeding,
Mm-hmm.
like pit bulls,
Okay.
right? If you notice, there's been like a lot of people who are now selling pit bulls and other dogs.
I have not noticed.
You ever noticed that? Yo, it's all
No.
kinds of it's yo. There's a store in the corner. There's a store in the corner not far from here. That's like the
Yeah.
the the bully shop or something, or
They sell pit bulls.
yeah, like designer, like, because
Designer
that's,
dogs. I know that's the thing.
so they dog breeding,
Yeah.
just different things that people who normally wouldn't be able to get employment, so they
Mm-hmm.
find ways to make money,
It's another
right?
hustle. Right.
So now it's people who are avoiding employment because they did whatever they did to get 10, 20, 30 grand and put it into this,
Right. Right. Right.
right? And so yeah, now it looks like you run a legitimate dog breeding business.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to ignore the fact that you defrauded the government, because now
Mm-hmm.
you have a legitimate dog breeding business.
They saying they wash the money in a legitimate business.
Yeah, that's crazy, low key. That is money laundering, huh? Damn, that's crazy, man. I hope they don't get caught.
Like, dang, that is a crime.
Wow. Um, but yeah, just
Money laundering is a huge business that's needed in the U. I think it's something like so many trillions of dollars just being money like laundered through the
mhm.
U.S. And if we was just to completely like eradicate it, like our our whole economic engine would fail.
Yeah, because
Same
there's
with
so
drug
much
money.
money. There's so much money that comes from that kind of stuff.
All kind of all kind of black market deals, like
So,
money
to answer your
funding.
question, to answer your question, or to just go back to it, um, but they're still going to allow certain types of content. It just can't be like full on porn, I think.
Yeah, I think you just can't be
So
the
I mean,
whole wop.
I think if you're doing that, then yeah, that'll greatly probably impact how you get paid. But there's some people who are on there like just posting like slightly more explicit pictures that they would post on Instagram,
Mm,
and you know, they're still making out okay. I
mm.
wouldn't know because I'm not on there, but
I'm like, you're like, yeah, some people do well.
just well because they always talk about who they are, like who the top
uh,
creators are,
right.
and they'll say if it's like porn or not. You
Mm,
know what I mean? So I don't know. I do think it'll have an impact, like to where many people won't be able to fully monetize
hmm.
the content because that's where their value comes from doing that type of content.
Right, right.
Um, but ultimately, I think most people will be okay. I still think it'll have that stigma attached to it though.
I think if you have a legitimate following, that following will follow you to whatever platform.
Hmm.
So whatever you direct them to, whatever platform you're on now, they'll join you there too. Um, but for people who just starting, if you want to start an OnlyFans last week and they just cut it off, I mean, yeah,
And it might be kind of
you might be too late in the game. That's one of the things you got to get in early in the scheme.
That's all of them though. Is that there's Turo? Like Turo's been kicking cars off.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's been kicking people off the platform, like for not maintaining a certain level of quality.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, there's other people who have the means to provide a better service
Mm-hmm.
than other people. You know what I mean? And so when it
Right.
was early and there weren't that many people there, it was different, right? So now you're looking at the people who are having success on the platform. Many of them are rental car companies,
Mm, the actual like Avis,
or no, just
the
like
big
they're
ones
like
are.
independent car companies,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
right? Because this is what they do anyway. So,
Mm-hmm.
but just that now they could potentially make more money just because of the amount of people who are on the platform,
Right. Right. Right.
you know? And that actually brought me to a question which I posted on Facebook and a few people answered. Um, because like a couple years ago, if you would have told somebody, especially a young black person, like to, you know, start a taxi business or a delivery service or go work for
Mm-hmm.
one, they would have
Mm-hmm.
laughed at you.
Yeah.
But fast forward to now, people are wrapping their cars with advertisements and being a taxi and
Mm-hmm.
delivering goods.
Yeah.
And I thought that was interesting, like, just how with time things kind of shift. You know what I mean? But like it's like what changed? Because it's not new. You're doing the same thing that's been done for. If I go to Vegas, taxis have advertisements on them. Like so,
Mm-hmm.
like it was just interesting. Like what changed that made people be like, this is acceptable now.
Bills. Bills change it all. Bills will change you real fast. Talking about what you don't want to do,
Man.
what you don't want to do, and what's not respectable. Yeah, okay. When the bills come in, you just get to work. Um, I think when you're in your teens and 20s, it's always like people trying to figure out what cool job they can have.
Mm-hmm.
Or, and then once you get into your 30s, 40s and up, it's just what type, how can I bring income in? Becomes the ultimate thing. How can I flip this into something else? So yeah, I think finally people well, along with that, it's also cool to do now too, because
Mm-hmm.
you have a lot of gurus just talking about how you can make money doing XYZ, being an entrepreneur and trying these different things. I think people are just trying things now. And I don't think that
Mm-hmm.
happens until like, whatever you really want to do failed in your 20s. You've
Mm-hmm.
been doing it for 10, 15 years. You're like, okay, I got to try something else.
Yeah, yeah.
And now it's acceptable now,
I think
especially
that's
if you
true.
got a mate that's like, look, um, I supported you all them years on what you wanted to do. Now bring some money up in here.
I think that's true. I think the current generation, like the younger people at least, I think they're more open to like the concept like of entrepreneurship, even in the most
Mm-hmm.
basic forms. You know what I mean? Like I think they're more susceptible to like to the idea of, you know, well, I wouldn't say entrepreneurship, just working for yourself, like as an operator,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's like it doesn't necessarily matter what it is, but they're open to just go try it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You know
As your
what?
own
What I think
operator.
is a big factor too now for the younger generation, they're not so much boxed into what you have to do based on where you come from or who you are, what you look like.
Hmm.
The internet completely changed everything for them.
Yeah.
The whole cool factor of what you were able to do as a specifically as a young black person or a black man, if that box was very small on what you could do that would be acceptable to your own culture. Like now with the internet, you can you can find your own network of people that like the same things you like and tell them about a niche that's gonna that'll most likely be surrounded around the things you actually really like. You really like to do the things that really drive you, and it doesn't necessarily have to be in this cool box. It's acceptable um, based on the people around you and people you went to school with, or
Hmm.
even people in your family. So they can really just be themselves and try new things without, you know, being held to a this fake standard in their culture. So they have a lot more leeway on those things, and I
Hmm.
think they just don't care. I don't think they care as much as we did about ultimately just being cool.
Hmm.
They just don't care too much.
Or just I think it's more so like acceptance.
Yeah,
'Cause I
acceptance
think
is
I think
the better word. Yeah.
I think a big thing that our parents' generation went through was like that whole like what will the neighbors think syndrome,
Mm-hmm.
because neighborhoods
Yeah.
were much more connected then.
Yeah.
You know,
Neighborhoods,
every
family,
yeah, they were
church.
much more connected.
What will they
And
say?
so and I think a little bit of that was passed on to us to some
Mm-hmm.
degree. Like so we kind of get the half and half. I think our
Mm-hmm.
generation is like the tweeners. Like we got the in between of everything.
Right.
Um and so I think for them it's more so like, well, neighbors don't talk anyway. I don't even know my neighbors.
Right. Right.
So it doesn't matter what nobody thinks because
Mm-hmm.
I don't talk to anybody,
Yeah.
you know. So they'll go out and start a dumpster business,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever business,
The
because
moving business. Yeah.
there's no one there to hold them accountable to certain like social standards.
Mm-hmm.
um so yeah, I mean, I think that's really what it comes down to, honestly, is just people being more open to that kind of stuff. But I do think like I was gonna say pandemonium, the pandemic helped because it forced a lot
Right.
of people just to sit the hell down and kind of rethink things.
Yeah, for sure.
And when you get that kind of time, it helps you to prioritize and just be like, you know what, I'm putting so much emphasis and so much thought into certain things that don't even really matter.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
ultimately, I can go out here and do whatever and live a fruitful life. I don't have to
Yeah.
be, you know, I don't have my resume doesn't have to be me, basically. I don't have to
Right.
live that way. You know what I mean? So I think it's cool that it's different, because
Yeah, for sure.
that's what ultimately that's what the goal is here in America. America's a capitalist nation. You can go out and do anything.
Mm-hmm.
I just find it interesting. That's all. I just it's just interesting that
No, it is. It is. It's a
because it's not
you said
new.
it.
It's
Mm-hmm.
marketed like it's a new thing, but it's not new. You're a taxi or a delivery man, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Yeah, there's no new thing to do.
no, um, and even going back to like the whole porn thing, the OnlyFans thing. I
Right.
was thinking, because the NFT things were like really popping, and now it's kind of just died off.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, you know what, NFTs would be really great for pornography, like as an
Mm-hmm.
industry,
Mm-hmm.
because if you're making content and you can limit if you're someone who has a very strong following in that space, and you can limit the amount that's available to the public, and they can only get it from you, it makes that valuable.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you can write in the contract a royalty for you every time, it's sold.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean somebody won't bootleg it, because I'm sure they will. But
Yeah. Right.
but I
That's
just
the
feel like,
industry oldest time.
yeah, I think that's a great industry for it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you produce content there, I really don't have an inside in that industry at all.
Right.
But just looking at it is like, it seems to be like there's certain like houses that control the distribution.
Mm.
So even if you're like a popping, creator in that field,
Mm-hmm.
you still have to like gravitate towards certain
Certain
houses.
distribution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like if you were able to take control over that, and distribute your own content
Mm-hmm.
with the people you want to work with, right? Or you might be able to just work with one person if you wanted to,
Right.
one or two, right?
Mm-hmm.
And send it out that way. But then you're able to limit how many you put out, and the person who buys it from you owns it.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like they own that now. Like I could say, I own a video of whoever. I don't know who the people are, but a person,
Right. Right.
right? And I feel like that would be great for them.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I can see that working. It's like this is only gonna go to a few amount of people. It's like sending a nude to people to, to a specific person that and only that person owns the nude.
Only they own it. But now
Yeah.
you added value to it on the secondary market, so they can have it,
Mm-hmm.
experience it, and then they can go and at that point, I feel like it becomes like, at least from like a speculator perspective,
Right. Right.
it becomes like, there's value there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because if you buy it, if I go and buy it for $10 from somebody, and then the market tells me or shows me that there's somebody there willing to pay 1,500 for it, then that creates value, because the next man, once they see it at 1,500, the
Mm-hmm.
next man may potentially want to pay more, because it's the only one.
Right. Right.
I own this, right? So even with music, like Tory Lanez just so apparent, this is what he's saying, because there's no way that I didn't look into it and justify it. But Tory Lanez said he sold 1 million copies of his album via an NFT. And
Like for $1 or something,
yeah,
something
so
like that.
they basically minted 1 million copies of the album. So it was like 1 million coins or 1 million tokens, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then people bought them. So some people bought hundreds, some people bought thousands. They
Mm.
bought them, but then they're the only people who own it. So if you have a fan base that exceeds the
Crazy
people who
time.
own it, I
Right.
know, right? Then it creates value for them.
Right.
You know what I mean? That they can go ahead and now become speculators, and it gives it
Mm-hmm.
gives a layer of value.
Right.
Um, if you're someone who warrants that from the market.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
That reminds me
but
of Wu Tang selling one CD some years back.
mhm. It's the
That creates
same
value.
same principle, but digital.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I can see how it's worth something. Like it means something to the arts. Like I definitely can see that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, in the grand scheme of things, I think it's just a PDF. Like it's a glorified PDF.
I think
But I can see how people
it's
monetize it.
the ultimate thing is I think setting your price and then letting the market decide.
Mm-hmm.
That's the ultimate thing we're looking at. Um, if you set your price and let the market decide, um, I think that's the best way to run it. Instead of trying to figure out what the market would pay for it,
Mm-hmm.
just set your price, limited quantity, and just run it that way. Sell the product or service and be done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we figured it out. So,
I think ultimately
it,
what'll happen is because there has to be a way to make it more efficient. Like it's pretty expensive.
mm-hmm,
So in the case of like, even in Tory's case, like he sold 1 million copies, but there's fees associated with like the minting and the processing and all that.
mm-hmm,
So while he'll come out and say I made $1 million, because it's good. I mean, all this could be lies anyway, but he'll come out and say I made $1 million. Um, that's revenue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is still great. Don't get me wrong, it's still great. But I do think that it's a little misleading to leave out the entire, like, if you're really trying to, well, I know he's not, but if you're trying to market something and make it seem better than what it is, you did your job. But if you're really
Mm-hmm.
trying to explain what went into that whole process and why it's game changing and all that, I feel like you have to tell the full story.
No, that's not what they in it for.
I know, that's what I'm saying. But like I feel like you, for someone like myself, I want to know, because I've seen people sell things and then have to pay 60% in fees.
Yeah. No one ever talks about that.
So
No one talks about their actual bottom line cut, like their net.
yeah, because it still makes sense. Like if you sold 1 million copies or a million whatever, and you end up paying 60 something% in gas fees or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
that's still, over $300,000-400,000 in a minute. Like that's still amazing.
You're right.
You know what I mean? Like net, that's still great.
But the million
Um,
is the story.
oh, of course.
This is why we
So,
talk about it. If he came
um,
out and said, "Hey, I made a million gross and I netted 300, 400,000," people would have passed that right on by. Like, okay, I don't know why though. It's still like it's still a lot of money
I
to be
know
made
that's
in
what I'm
1 minute.
saying.
I don't know. Would we be talking about it if he said, "Hey, I just made it 300,000 in a minute"?
I would be like, yo,
Yeah, we
that's
probably would.
crazy.
Yeah, we
That's
probably would.
crazy. Because three, listen, it doesn't matter what the money is. He made it in a minute. It sold
Yeah.
out in 57 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it was 50,000. That was 57 seconds.
Right, right.
So if you got $1 million in top line revenue and a half a million in net profits, that's still amazing for 1 minute.
Yeah, for sure. Still game changing.
Yeah. So I feel like that's where you'll probably see the most, like, creativity when it comes to like the use
Mm-hmm.
of NFTs. It'll come from music, because artists will, as an artist, they look for royalties, right? And so you're
Right.
looking at streams, and that helps. That definitely helps. But I feel like if you can release exclusive content that can only be owned by a set group of people,
Mm-hmm.
aside from the stuff that's streaming and album sales, um, I think that will change the way, like, we or the music industry, distributes music,
Yeah.
because they'll be
Yeah.
forced to,
Yeah.
you know.
That reminds me of Nipsey Hussle when he sold his album for, was it $1,000? A rack?
Yeah. Hmm.
I forget how many units, but
I think he had 100 copies, 1,000 a piece.
okay.
So he had the first one was $100. He had a hundred
Mm-hmm.
dollars, $100 album,
Mm,
and 1,000 copies. And then the
mm,
second one was 1,000 copies, or 100 copies, but $1,000.
mm. That's cold.
Yeah.
That's
So
cold. A small loyal following
yeah, I
is
mean,
all you really
even
need.
I can see Nip even doing something like that if he was still here. I can see him
Mm-hmm.
kind of getting into that space, because he talked about it a lot.
Yeah.
Um,
Tech part of
speaking
it.
of um, speaking of Nip, I think I finally found out who the group was for the Crenshaw Mall,
Mm, okay.
the community group, right?
Uh,
So, based on my limited research, because we don't do research here,
right.
but based on based on my limited research, it's a group that's headed up by David Gross,
Who's that?
he's a developer who was in partnership with Nipsey on a couple of his projects. So,
Mm,
like, so if you actually go and look up like the companies that own like the retail space on Slauson and
mm-hmm.
Crenshaw, like he's on the documents. Him and
Oh,
Black
okay.
Sam, Nipsey's brother.
Okay.
Um, in the Vector 90 space, like the co-working space, So he's part of that, and he's done other things. Like it's not limited to that. He can stand on his own. But he's the one who got Nipsey kind of in that lane. They linked up together, and then they went off to do things. Right. So apparently he created like a I don't know if it's, I don't really know what it is. I don't know if it's a fund or whatever, but he organized his team together, and they made it to where basically they allowed for public investment of like $1,000 at the minimum. So his fund, I don't know if they're coming with money on their own and then accepting public money, or if it's all public money, but that's how it works. Right? So it's his group, he's in charge, and then they're soliciting anyone who's, of course, lives in the area, or anyone who wants to invest in general. You can have ownership for $1,000 investment. So that's how they're raising capital.
I see.
So in that sense, I mean, I would say, just from, again, the limited research, I would say he's qualified to, to do something of that sort. It just seems that they're ignoring him.
They passed up on him though. I mean,
like 5 times.
That could even be, it almost, it doesn't matter, because just pulling the money together, I mean, they can always go buy something else. I wonder if that was like the ultimate push to say, hey, yes, we're going to go for this project, but if we don't get it, we still can invest in something else.
I think that's the end goal.
Because the fund is still there.
Yeah, I think that's the end goal, for them to be able to basically duplicate this in other places. But I think
that's the story. I mean, to get somebody riled up over this and say, hey, it's time to invest. I don't see any better marketing plan to give people, to give up $1,000, and get people going.
That might be,
attach yourself to a cause and a story.
Yeah, I can see that being a thing. I think the Crenshaw Mall thing is very personal to them, because they're from the area. Like, it means more to them. So I think that's where that comes from. But ultimately, yeah, you're probably right.
It's probably both. Yeah, it can definitely be both. But I can see that as a huge generator, just having that story, and that fire behind people to really put up some money, and if they win the project or not, or win the bid. So
they passed up on him like 5 times.
Yeah.
5 or 6 times. So I mean, it's, at this point, it's and now that I have that information, right? It's I understand a lot more. You know what I mean? It's not so, because at first my knowledge of the situation was based on like Facebook comments.
Yeah. You're like, who are these people?
Yeah. And so now that I have more depth, in it, then it does seem weird that, if I won't say weird, because I understand what the other side, they're looking at it like this. It's a new thing. So it's like, oh, these people are coming in. They may not know Dave Gross.
Right.
And regardless of his history, even if he knows people who are, if he has references who are,
this is the issue with, doing limiting your research to Facebook comments.
Absolutely.
And that's what most people do.
But see, but at least
they read the headline and read the comments and say,
at least
okay, this is my opinion.
At least we were mature enough to say we didn't do research, and
yeah, for
we're
sure.
not saying this is the, like, you know what I mean, like, so at least we didn't say this is the end all be all. We're giving you the answer.
Yeah, it's quick to be like, I don't know, but I'm gonna throw this opinion out.
Yeah.
We don't have all the research yet. We'll get back to you with that, but I'll speak on it.
So yeah, so now I do think I do kind of feel them a bit, though, like, to be passed up that much, but I understand, like, how the other side operates, like where that could come from, like with them not knowing them, or just not
some
being in
some
that
deal,
inner
some
circle.
deals just don't go to the best offer sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like, hey, I picked up a few deals from these people and they might owe them one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll get you one down the line. We'll make sure we reach out to you. So people don't think about how deals are made either. Sometimes it's not about who pays the most or who's deserving or whatever.
Yeah.
So you just never know how deals come together.
Yeah. So I mean that was it was interesting though to kind of hear him talk about it.
Yeah.
Um, and I like the concept. I think the thing that's really difficult, I think it works in this setting because there's an
Mm-hmm.
emotional incentive, right?
Yeah,
So
for sure.
so at this point, it doesn't matter how you perform as long as you control it,
Yeah, yeah. You just
right?
need the funds.
Yeah.
This the funds still exist, so
Um,
something to come out
in
of it.
in other aspects, it's hard to say a situation like that can work because of where the capital is coming from and the disconnect between like those people understanding, the operations.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like they
It's gonna be
because
a lot of
it's a lot of
where's my
phone calls.
$1,000 at?
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of phone calls. With the Crenshaw Mall, it's different because it's a personal thing. They don't care as long as they. It doesn't matter how much money it makes. It's an emotional thing.
Right, right.
Um, so I don't know, man. I thought that was interesting though. So I'm gonna pay more attention to it, and
Yes,
you
story's
know,
still developing. Um, as we get more information, we'll
as we
update you.
do more
Limited
research,
research.
limited
This is the limited
research.
research podcast.
Yeah. So yeah, I thought that was interesting though. I wanted to make sure I brought that to the
Yeah.
forefront in case
Mm-hmm.
people were listening and like cussing us out the whole time. Like, man, all you got to do is go to the website. And so I just want to make sure we got
Be
that
like,
out.
no.
Yeah. So yeah. So I mean, I think
I'm like, we have a few other topics we can probably go over, but I think we run it a little long and it's getting late.
yeah, I know. For I was I was telling Ty, I was talking to Ty in
Mm-hmm.
one of our stock group calls,
Mm-hmm.
and she's been catching up on all the episodes.
Right, right.
And
Yeah, I remember she was telling me.
yeah, and we were talking about scheduling the days because I think she saw the early show,
Mm-hmm.
and she was talking about how you were like so into it, and you were you know basically you were on fire that day. And I was like, yeah, because usually we record pretty late sometimes, and he could be sleepy.
Yeah, I'm
So
lethargic.
yeah. So for those of y'all, listening to the show, and Dorn's getting better. He's getting better. At first, it was Dorns didn't care about nothing. Anything, any topic that came up, he'd be like, I don't care, like whatever, like so what. But he's
Right,
he's he's getting a lot better. So
right, right.
we're trying to keep it together so we're not recording
Yeah,
too late. But sometimes it
right,
just
right.
happens that way because we're functioning adults.
Yeah, it's a lot of things going throughout the day, and business, family. So, but we come here and try to give you the best. So we'll keep doing that. But yeah, I'm more of an early person for sure. Jared thrives at night. He's like he's a night person. So he's like, I'm up.
Yeah, I'm up.
I'm up. I'm doing everything 110% right now.
I mean, how so? Like, I know it's been pretty busy like the last 2 weeks, man. What's been going on? I know we should have talked about that at the beginning, but I know like
Right.
I was looking at your story um the other day, and it was like a bunch of stuff in escrow, and I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, I mean that sounds about right.
Yeah. It's been yeah, just dealing with a lot of escrows, and even this last week, it's like uh, when you're at the end of escrow, there's a lot of like loose ties you kind of have to like put together, like the last minute things to kind of get the deal through, and it can be draining because you're kind of just making sure things are coming together at the end, which takes a lot of time and effort.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but yeah, it's been going good. Um, one of the friends of the podcast hit me up, Quinn, um,
Oh, dope. Yeah.
and
Shout out Quinn.
yeah, we got something accepted for him and his wife,
Hmm.
and yeah, just doing business as normal.
We out here
Uh,
changing lives.
yeah, changing lives.
Changing
Yeah, so
lives.
shout out them. Um, yeah, just trying to just keep it going. Keep it going. Service to people when they need me, and I appreciate the love and the feedback of people supporting the business, the brokerage, and yeah, we're gonna keep it going. Um, gonna continue to work on more content and stuff on the real estate side, which I know we talked about,
Hmm.
kind of merging that with the stock group, and yeah, it's time to just slowly start implementing those things. So it's been a lot of
Absolutely.
that, and family stuff. Duck is in kung fu now, so in the evenings during the
Oh,
week,
he karate chopping.
yeah,
That's what's
he
up.
yeah, kung fu fighting.
That's
So
what's up.
yeah, it's nice to see him do that and support him doing that thing. Um, so yeah, just trying to keep it together, keep it together, stay involved on every level of business and fatherhood and all these different things. And it just takes time and effort.
Hmm.
So so yeah, it's important for us to, with all those things we have going on, to come together and do this for the people. So what about you, man? What's been going on? It's crazy because we really don't really talk a lot during the week.
Nah.
It's like doing things and then come together.
Yeah. I mean, you know what, man? I've been doing a lot of stuff I don't really want to
Mm.
do.
Okay, what capacity? Because I got
um,
a philosophy for that.
um, in many capacities, but I just
Hmm.
I just say within the confines of real estate.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, just a lot of stuff, you know, that I don't know, man. It don't feel the same, and it might just
Hmm.
be a rhythm thing, like
Hmm.
just from like the whole COVID shutdown, and then trying to get back into a rhythm of
Yeah.
once things begin to kind of pick up again, and then trying to get back into the rhythm of, okay, I do this every
Hmm.
day.
Yeah.
Um, because for a while it was kind of stale for a minute, and then I was just slowly kind of just doing a little bit here and there,
Hmm.
and and recently it seems like people are now people are kind of in that space where they're willing to have conversations about their long-term plans,
Right.
talk about moving certain properties, and which is fine, but when it hasn't been something that's been going on like it used to every day, it's like, I don't really want to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Vita was in DC for the past couple of days. The hell was that? And so I had to kind of cram that into 2 days because I knew I
Mm.
would be with the baby for 2 days.
Right.
So yeah, it's mainly just been that, man. Just
Hmm.
trying to do that, balance the whole, balance, like you said, fatherhood, business,
Hmm.
um,
Yeah.
working on everything else we got going on. Um, so planning and plotting for the podcast.
Yeah.
I was even thinking about cutting. I know we were talking about 30 episodes, but I was even thinking about cutting that shorter,
Hmm.
um, just to go ahead and kick it up a notch.
Hmm. Talking about like 20 episodes. It's 20 episode season.
Well, this is 19, so the
Hmm.
20. Because what I really wanted to do was at the end of the season. What I really wanted to do was have an episode with like me, you, and Mode, and then that gives people a chance to get our origin stories.
Right. Right. Right.
right? So if it's the last two episodes or if it's the last one where we can kind of um, share our stories and then tie
Mm-hmm.
it into, with like William, um, and how it all came together, basically,
Right, right.
to what it is now. Um, so I don't
I mean,
know, but I just feel like
25 sounds good.
I feel
25
like
sounds like a good number.
because 30 episodes is another 10 weeks. So, and I don't
Mm-hmm.
have a problem with that. I just feel like I just feel like we can do it sooner than that.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
we can make that next jump to where
Mm-hmm.
things look different,
Yeah.
they feel different, and then we're also bringing in new voices, new perspectives,
Mm-hmm.
new insight, because even though I'm sure people listen to these conversations because they know us or they like what we say, um,
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, if it's just us, there's going to come a point in time where it just sounds like we're preaching
Mm-hmm.
because this is our platform, right? So,
Well,
um,
it's a lot of people who've done that for 20, 30 years.
I know. So, so I feel like bringing in like fresh voices, fresh faces. I think for us that also does a service for us because it allows us to reach, to get into certain things that we wouldn't be able to get into because we don't have those questions,
Right, right.
you know. And I feel like we've done a good job, a good enough job of establishing who we are and how we think and our approach to certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like our audience might just have some questions that if someone who's new in business or um, just inquisitive in general, we might be able to you know help deliver that,
Right, 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 right.
because there's certain
Yeah.
questions they'll have that we wouldn't have. um so I'm just kind of ready to open it up a bit to bring
Mm-hmm.
in some new perspectives.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be cool. I mean, even if we do 20, 25, whatever that number is, I mean, we can make it up. We can do
Yeah, I
whatever,
know it's ours.
you know?
So
So whatever that is. Um, because I know we even want to do have the platform look different too. And that takes some time,
yeah,
so we'll
yeah, I'm
need some
working on
time to
that.
kind of go through those things, some testing phases. Um, yeah, so I think that'll
I
work.
mean, ultimately, the goal is, for me at least, right? The goal is to I want to be able to do this in person.
Mhm.
I know there's obstacles in regards to that, but ultimately, it would be to do this in person. So there's certain spaces where we can do it that way,
Mhm.
but I feel like we have to work our way towards that, and then going into the next season or stage, whatever. I
Mhm.
think that's like one step closer.
Right.
I feel like we've kind of maximized what it is at this moment.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know what I mean? And so the next step, we have to maximize that. And then from there, it'll become you know, whatever it'll ultimately be.
Right. Yeah, I'm with that.
Because we're doing all kind. I'm sitting here. I'm drinking on the show. People can call me an alcoholic. You know, but in person, it could be different because that's an opportunity for sponsorships. But if you're someone who's been following the show
Mhm.
for 2, 3, 4 seasons, and then you see that we do have sponsorships from certain brands, you can say, oh well, that's something that was created in season 1, 2, 3, whatever, right?
Mhm.
It's been going on since the beginning. So as a viewer of the show, you can see the growth.
Yeah.
And for me, that's since we talk about so much of like value and fundamentals and just um long term thinking and stuff like that, I think being able to also have that trickle into the way we roll things out, um, will help our audience kind of, accept our message.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's gonna get different. It's gonna get real different. I mean, it's just
And you never know, man. One day I
it.
might come in and I might have a Daytona on or something. You never know. You know what I mean? You never know.
Right. Yeah, it's a lot going on right now though. It's a lot going on, and it's a lot of opportunity to get it on film and let people see it. Because
Mm-hmm.
even just this little box of content, it's not all of it. It's not all of it.
No,
It's so much happening. It's so much happening that people don't see, and it would be nice to divvy that out and some dope visuals, which we're very capable of doing, we just haven't done yet. And it'll be nice just to see that out. It's like,
man.
we got real life photographers, videographers, editors, and we just kind of just sitting on that. So it's just, just when it get real dumb, real, it's gonna seem like it's gonna get real dumb real fast, but it's always just been sitting and wait. And
Yeah.
it's just about just opening that floodgate. And when it's time,
And
it'll be
and
time.
committing to it.
Yeah. To
I
to
think,
being consistent with delivering the
yeah.
content too. Because I don't just want to just um, give you a little bit of show. It's gonna be consistent flow of
I think in many ways, at least just speaking for myself, I think in many ways, um, and this is something I just thought about the other day. Um, I was a little bit frightened by it,
mm-hmm.
just being able to see what it could ultimately become,
Right.
right? And so, and especially based on recent occurrences,
Yeah.
things that have happened recently.
Uh,
Um, just seeing what it could ultimately grow into, and how we would have to relinquish certain freedoms, and
right.
you know and which is fine, I guess. I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
but I think ultimately that's something that, like you said, you said it perfectly, like these are things that we're sitting on, like,
Mm-hmm.
and it's true, like there's people we can make a phone call today and have 100,000 views because I could bring on somebody who is very popular,
Mm-hmm.
right? um but I think in many ways I'm a little bit scared of that.
You gonna say it.
Not for real. I think I'm a little bit scared of that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
of what because now at that point you no longer belong to yourself.
It's the autonomy that you give up,
Yeah.
and you can never get it back.
No, that's what it is.
You never close Pandora's box.
That's what I'm scared of.
It never closes. It's open eternally when you open it. So yeah, that is something to be scared of,
Yeah.
or wary of.
I
But
think subconsciously that's something that's been kind of holding back a lot, like certain things.
yeah.
Even if we didn't know that's what it was, I think that's what's been kind of holding back certain things, because
Mm-hmm.
you know what it can grow into or what it could become, and it's like, I don't know if I want to commit to that. You know what I mean? Like, um
uh,
but we have to, like, we're here now, right? So I think we just have to work through it. You know what I mean? Because we only have like 60 some odd subscribers,
mm-hmm. That's a
right?
lot.
And I mean, in real life, yeah, but
That's where I live. I'm like, what are y'all doing here?
there's people who are like, they have hundreds of thousands and millions of subscribers.
mm-hmm.
Um, and even with that, there's people who I've received messages from who who are on TV, like,
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that, and they're like, I want to be on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, well, and I told him no, which is funny,
Mm-hmm.
but
It's just,
uh,
why is it funny?
I just like telling people no.
For the reasons of like I don't know about that yet.
Yeah, I'm not there yet.
That's what it is. It's all about I don't know about that yet.
Well, because I don't know you. Like if I listen, if I stand next to you, okay, look. So put it like this: if 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 we get Soldier Boy on the show,
Mm-hmm.
we will forever be known as the Soldier Boy guys.
Yeah, yeah. The guys that had Soldier Boy, and not just who him, it's
If
whoever.
I'm just saying,
Yeah,
like if it goes viral, like you're
yeah,
attached to that forever.
yeah.
And so for me, I'm very, very particular about that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, maybe not when I was younger, but
Mm-hmm.
now, I'm just very particular about that because I know who my friends are. I know who, I know who I'm not. More
Mm-hmm.
importantly, and I don't ever want that to be confused. And I think the thing that exists today is that more people are open to that because of money and
Yeah.
because of what we've been through.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care about money.
Mm-hmm.
Like, although
Yeah,
we do what we do for money, it's not always about money,
yeah. It's
right?
not the driving factor
Yeah.
of why we do this.
So, and I think that's hard for a lot of people to understand. Like,
Yeah.
and so
Like
they
yo,
reach
you
out.
can make so much money. You can
Yeah,
make
and it's
so
like
much money. You gotta chill.
I can make money doing other things. I'm
Yeah.
smart.
Yeah.
I'll figure it out. Like, I have
Mm-hmm.
other ideas, but it's that is that thing. So, um, I think once we get to a point where I'm comfortable with our control on the
Mm-hmm.
situation, then stuff like that won't matter.
Yeah. I just want to just keep it to um we're overall doing this for us and not for something else.
Hmm.
Because it's easy to slip into, oh, okay, that was hitting. They like that type of content. Let's do more of that for the views or for the followership, for the followers or whatever. And I think that's just whack.
I mean, that's natural though, right? Like if we put out like our first show in terms of like production quality was the worst,
Mm-hmm.
but it has the most views. And every single time that I go somewhere and someone says I watched the show, they always talk about how we said we don't want to do this shit. Like that's
I
the
mean,
thing
they
that
listened to the
resonated.
first one.
Yeah, that's the thing that resonated with
Yeah.
them is like, yo, the first one you was like, I don't want to do this shit. I feel you,
Right.
you know.
Right.
So now if we continue to make more content that way, that would be like that'd be the
Mm-hmm.
smart thing to do, I guess, right? Because that's the thing that people
It resonated.
gravitated towards. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I think there's still a thin layer of that in every episode. But when you commit to something, it's like, hey, you know, I can't sit here and keep telling you the same thing. It's like, well, you're doing it now.
yeah.
But there's drawbacks, and then there's positive things that can come from this. So um, I try to anchor to both, not so much just all the positive and not the negative. You
Hmm.
need both. You need both to be well balanced, and
Yeah, you're
I
right.
think that's
You're
why
right.
it works. You know.
You're right. You're right. You're right about that. So so yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. We might shorten it up and and then take a break and get all our shit together. So when we come back, it could all be,
Mm-hmm.
you know, full fledged. Um, but yeah, I mean, ultimately, I do think we don't have to. I don't think we have to go to 30. I think we can kind of shorten that up, and then
Mm-hmm.
because I also want to get P Minty on the show. P Minty been in the comments every single week,
Yeah. Shout out P.
every single week, like with bars though.
Mm-hmm.
So and he's recently had a few experiences that I told him I'm holding all comments until he's on the show. So
Right.
I want to make sure we have those because he has a lot of insight that he can share with people, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Um, and then of course Sean and Joe, you know,
Yeah.
I want to bring them on board as well since they got us. I know for sure for me they got me to this point because Sean
Yeah.
was
Yeah. Yeah, for
Sean was in
sure.
my ear a lot. Like, y'all need to do this. So
I agree. So we always shout out the podcast, the Contrarian podcast,
mhm.
which I'm sure is coming back online
I asked him about it
someday.
when I seen him. I asked him about it. So
You know, I ain't gonna I ain't gonna push the issue, but I am gonna bring it up.
yeah.
I'm gonna bring it up.
Um, so yeah, we
Yeah.
thank y'all for tuning in. It's been another episode of Rich by Monday. Make sure you hit the like button so we can get the YouTube algorithm on our side. Um,
Mm-hmm.
all that good stuff. Uh, anything you want to add to the convo, go ahead and drop it in the comment below. Patreon coming soon. All that is coming soon. Everything is coming soon, and we'll probably kick off season 2 with all of that. So
Yeah.
for me, I often impose my values and my beliefs on certain things, and so I don't want to I don't want to involve Patreon if I feel like the production quality isn't, you know, commensurate with that. So
Mm-hmm.
season 2 will probably kick off the Patreon, but everything is together. So the website is done, Patreon is set up. Um, merch will be live soon, so y'all can get Rich by Monday shirts, and potentially hats. Um, and yeah, so
Yes,
I'm
sir.
hoping to. I got some phone calls to make this week just to tie up a few loose ends with our suppliers for some of the merch. So hopefully the website can go live this week and people can order their shirts.
Mm-hmm. Yep, sounds good.
But other than that, any last words, man?
Nope. God bless you and good night.
Sleepy? You sleepy as hell.
Man,
Man, you about to go straight to sleep.
we might have to we can even change days too.
And whatever we got to
Do
do,
a
we're gonna
morning
have to.
day,
We're gonna have to.
you know.
But yeah, so we'll catch y'all next week on episode 20.
Yep.
Peace out.
Thanks for joining us. Later.